Shanahan looks like he has the 49ers turned around now. He has a quarterback that he can build off of. But here the Raiders sort of step back in time to John Gruden, a coach that's been out of football for many, many years now. He's been in the broadcast booth. He's around these teams. Do you feel like bringing back an older coach that hasn't been around the game is the best move for this Raiders team?
It could go either way. I don't really have an answer for this one because Gruden, I mean, he's won a Super Bowl, so he's got that under his belt. He doesn't have a huge track record of other success in the league, despite how famous and big of a name that he is. I think a lot of potentially even younger fans don't realize that it's not like this guy is just an amazing football coach. I think he's a good football mind, but he's had moments. You know, it's not like this perennial powerhouse like you have with like a Bill Belichick. It's moments with John Gruden. And then he made a name for himself in the booth and with other things, you know, Gruden Camp and QB Camp and things that he's done with SportsCenter and ESPN and things that I enjoy, quite frankly, because he's a smart guy. He talks football. He knows what he's talking about. But it's hard for me to look at what's going on with the Raiders, the Las Vegas thing, and to see this as anything more than a marketing move for this team. So I'm not sold on it, and I think that this is one of those things, too, where anytime you make an experimental move like this, you're just as at risk of having, 2 years from now, having him step back away and say, I thought this was what I wanted to do, but it's actually not working out, and I got to step away. And then you're like resetting the calendar all over again for your coaching, search and everything you've got to do to bring a team back up with a new coach. So I think it's risky, and I think, quite frankly, it's a marketing move.
I agree. This is a team that they basically have to revamp themselves. They're going to Vegas. They want to make a splash. They're going to have to go into Vegas and establish themselves. Gruden's a name. He's a name a lot of people know. On Monday Night Football, you've got Frank Caliendo that does his impressions on ESPN that's very popular. He's basically become the new age version of John Madden. If 15 years ago Madden was going to come back to coach, everybody would have went crazy that it's this great move. And it's not that Gruden's a bad coach. Like you said, he won a Super Bowl, but it's not like he had a great record. I think it was 95 and 81 overall, but he hasn't coached since 2008. And you start to think about all the things that have changed with the game and just how technology's been brought in, and even iPad usage and just so many different things. Is he going to embrace all those things? Is he going to embrace some of the analytics that you see? You even saw that come in where even an older GM like John Dorsey, you saw on Hard Knocks, where he's kind of scoffing at the analytic guy, that he just doesn't want to embrace those kinds of things where these other teams are doing that. So it's a difficult move. Like you said, it's a great marketing campaign. We're talking about the Oakland Raiders. Gruden's been featured on a lot of stuff. It's always going to go back to the personality that he has. He's going to keep them relevant and on the map, but it's going to be what they do on the football field. And the fact that even with Khalil Mack needing a contract, the fact that they may trade him, there's rumors the Packers want him. He's by far their best defensive player. And again, this is a team that struggled. So Eric, Vegas has this team at 8. They lost Michael Crabtree. He's a Raven now. Going to be a lot on Amari Cooper. They're going to depend a lot as well on Marshawn Lynch still. And we know his age and the fact that he sort of didn't have a great second half of the season last year. Vegas has the Raiders at 8. They're coming off a 6-10 season last year. Do you like over or under 8 wins for the Oakland Raiders this year?
No, I got to take the push on this one. I believe they get to 8-8. I think they obviously get over that 6-10 mark. They're a better team than what they showed last year. I think they're invigorated at least by this coaching move. They know that they need to make a mark in this division. They've got an opportunity with how many injuries the Chargers have. They've got an opportunity with just Denver being a little down and out right now, and normally they're a great team in this division. So I think for Oakland, they feel like this is the time. Kansas City's trying out some new things at quarterback, which we'll get into in just a moment. So I feel like they have something they can grab onto. But it's, again, that schedule. I think Derek Carr, I love Derek Carr. I wish him the best of success. I think he's a good human being, a good person, got a good head on his shoulders. I don't like Marshawn Lynch. I just don't think that I think he's hurting the team at this point, and they need to move on. But overall, like you said, losing pieces at wide receiver, I just can't, in my mind, looking at their schedule, get above 8. So I give them the benefit of the doubt that they're better than last year. I can't get them over 8. I'm taking the push.
Yeah, I can't really disagree with you there. I think 8-8 is probably their ceiling. I'm going to go just under. I'll take 7-9. I think there'll be an improved team from last year, but there's still a lot of questions on this team. They're going to be depending a lot on Jordy Nelson, and he's a guy that Green Bay basically said, we really don't want you at this price anymore unless you take a big discount for us. They didn't feel like he was worth it, and that's playing with Aaron Rodgers, so he's going to take a step down to Derek Carr at that quarterback position. Again, you got to wonder what you're going to get out of Khalil Mack if he doesn't feel like the team wants him and he's going to hit free agency and he's going to go through a contract issue. Do you get everything out of him this year? And then what do you get from John Gruden? I think there's just too many questions for taking a bet on this like we're doing here. I just don't feel comfortable. I said it last week with one of the teams that if it was up to me, I'd probably stay off of it. Oakland would be in that, but if I was going to put money, I'd feel more comfortable going with that under. In a little bit of a surprise, it's not the Kansas City Chiefs that are picked to win the division this year. They've sort of been the dominant team once Peyton Manning left the AFC West. It's been the Chiefs that have been the beneficiary of that, sort of picking it up and being the division leader and winner for the last couple years in this AFC West. But Vegas does not think that they're going to be able to do it this year. Last year, 10-6, but another season where they exited the playoffs earlier than their fans and really everybody thought that they would. The expectations just weren't met. The team last year drafted quarterback Patrick Mahomes. They kept him behind Alex Smith pretty much all year. They turned him loose late in the season versus Denver. It was an up and down start, but they decided to make the move. They trade Alex Smith to the Washington Redskins, and they've turned the keys to the car over to Patrick Mahomes. It's been a very up and down preseason for Patrick Mahomes. So, Eric, this is a team, again, have extremely good regular seasons under Alex Smith. That's not easy to do in the NFL, is finding a way to win double-digit games year in and year out. But they make the move to get rid of Alex Smith and bring in Patrick Mahomes. So will this prove out to be the right move?
Yes, it absolutely will. I think Patrick Mahomes will be one of the most electrifying players in the NFL this year because he's going to throw a lot of interceptions, but I think they've already resigned themselves to the fact that they just have to live with that because what he's going to be able to do other than that, downfield, especially to Tyreek Hill, is unreal. And so I think they're going to blow the top off a lot of defenses. They're going to be a very hard team to cover. And with that type of weaponry, you bring guys like Kelce and Kareem Hunt right back into the mix. If our listeners recall last year, at the end of last year, what we talked about with the Chiefs and with Alex Smith is that teams were finding a way to make them one-dimensional. I think what Mahomes does is make them two-dimensional or multi-dimensional once again, and so the potential for high-scoring games is there again. I think Vegas is wrong. I think this team wins this division. We'll get into the over-under in a minute, but I love the move. I think Alex Smith was just at a point in his career where moving on made the most sense, and Kansas City buying into Mahomes made the most sense. I'm all in.
Short term, probably not the right move. Long term, yeah, it's the right move. What does Alex Smith have left? Maybe a year, maybe 2 years, and then you're going to be trying to figure out what to do. If you go ahead and decide to cut bait now, I don't think that the Chiefs with Alex Smith were winning a Super Bowl. So if that's the case, then you might as well start to look to your future. If you feel Mahomes is ready, what they've seen from him in practice, what they've seen last year when he was running the scout team, that if he's the guy, then better do it now. So I think in the short term, would they have won more games this year if they had Alex Smith? Probably. If you add in the fact that they added Sammy Watkins in, you've got another year under Kareem Hunt's belt. Kelce's still there. So you know what you've got offensively with the weaponry around there. They would have probably found a way with Alex Smith to win 10 or 11 games. I don't think they'll get there this year with Patrick Mahomes. If you start to look at 2019 and beyond, that's where Patrick Mahomes is really going to pay dividends for them. So, yeah, I think, you can make a case for, well, maybe they didn't need to turn Patrick Mahomes loose this year. They still could have won a lot of games and made a run. But I think Alex Smith's ceiling is just limited. He's a guy that's going to win you a lot of regular season games. But when it comes to the playoffs, and he's got to make plays, and he's got to push the ball down the field, and it's colder, and the defenses are better, I think that's where he struggles. And I think that's where the Chiefs feel like if they can just get there, Mahomes is the guy, like you said, that can be electrifying, that he can really make defenses on their toes. Not sure what he's going to do, that he can, like we saw in the preseason where he threw a rocket about 70 yards on the money to Tyreek Hill, who had beat 3 guys. he's going to have that part, but he's also going to have those games where he's fumbling snaps, he's taking hits, he's throwing interceptions. You're just going to have to live with them as a young quarterback that's really getting his first starts this year for this team. So, Eric, Vegas has the Chiefs at 8.5. I have a pretty good feeling. I know where you're going on this.
Definitely the over. Bet the over on this one and do it all day long. I think the Chiefs win this division, and I think they do it, I don't want to say easily, but I think they do it by a game or two. And so I'm going at least 10-6 for the Chiefs. I'm sold on that. I could be definitely wrong as well, but this is my hot take for the week. I'm taking the over, and I'm going that the Chiefs are the AFC West champions this year.
I think with the pieces around them, I would take the over too. I think they can find a way to get to at least 9 wins. Again, we talked about Denver and Oakland being somewhat down, that they're not going to be teams that are going to be pushing for double-digit wins that we see. So that makes them teams that can be beat. You start to link games versus the Cardinals and potentially even Seattle that's going to be a little bit down this year. It seems like of what they're going through with the transformation of their defense, some of the common opponents that they'll play. I just think that they'll find a way to get over that 9-win mark. And again, I don't think it's always going to be pretty. I think it's going to be very up and down for this team. But defensively, they're a solid unit. They're good on special teams. They've got weaponry around Mahomes on the offensive side of the football. He doesn't have to do everything. I think they'll find a way to at least win 9 games. But the team that Vegas has picked to win this AFC West is the Los Angeles Chargers. Eric, they got off to a slow start last year. In fact, they were one of the teams we talked about which team would win a game first last year as we were getting into the season, and they had no wins. And they actually turned it around to become one of the hottest teams and a team that no one wanted to see get into the playoffs. They fell just short of the playoffs last year at 9-7, basically losing out on tiebreakers to Buffalo and Tennessee. But Eric, the problem with this Chargers team has been injuries. Even before camp, they lost Hunter Henry. During camp, they lose Jason Verrett to an injury. Casey Hayward just this week leaves with an injury. This is a team, Eric, we've seen it with Keenan Allen, Mike Williams. This is a team that has a problem keeping guys healthy, and we've seen over the course of the year, it comes back to bite them where they just don't have that consistency with guys out on the field, where they just get to a point where they're basically bringing guys in off the street trying to win NFL football games, and it just doesn't work. But it seems like if they can pick it up from last year, they've got talent on the offensive side of the football. I think we'd even talked about a bit back of the depth of this receiving core when you look at Keenan Allen and Mike Williams, Tyrell Williams, and then Travis Benjamin. They have a lot of depth on this team. So this is a team, again, they have a lot of talent on the offensive side of the football. Add in Melvin Gordon to that mix. And then you have Joey Bosa on the defensive side of the football raising havoc. So again, kind of a surprise to see this team that Vegas has them winning the division. But I think the question comes down to, Eric, the man behind the center, Phillip Rivers, he's getting up there in age. Do you feel like Phillip Rivers has enough left in the tank this year to actually live up to this expectation Vegas has put on them to win this division?
I don't know if Rivers does, but there's not a chance that they live up to this expectation that Vegas has. Look, they're already leading the league again in ACL injuries. We haven't even got to week 3 of the preseason. I don't know if it's, something bad in their training routine. I don't know if it's bad, mojo with moving from San Diego to Los Angeles. I don't know if it's bad sushi coming off the West Coast. Something on this team is not right because they have trouble keeping guys on the field. And so I just think that the sort of the vibes around the Chargers is always sort of this background negativity regarding health and training, and are we going to keep guys on the field? So, look, I mean, we had fun last year. Our buddies over at CNT Talks, a political podcast that actually, if you like politics, I would highly recommend. But Chad and Tony, the hosts of that show, they had a bet last year of which team would win more games, the Los Angeles Rams or the Los Angeles Chargers. If I were Chad, I would try as hard as I could to take the bet again this year because there is not a chance that the Chargers win more games than the Rams. And I'm a firm believer in that. I think the Chargers are going to be a hot mess this year. I think that Vegas is absolutely crazy. And look, I just can't buy in. I think what you're going to see is a team that, Justin, I mean, we even talked about it last year. The Los Angeles market, they're not buying into this team at all. So all of this bad mojo around injuries and around fanfare and around Phillip Rivers being old, and, you know, he's going to get frustrated throughout the year as they play and lose games in front of 29 people in the stands. And I just don't see anything positive right now around this team, and everything in Los Angeles